Hello everyone, my name is Kim Shutt and this is my Module 5, Understanding My School Community. I work at Fort Collins High School. So some customs and traditions at Fort Collins High School. We're known as the home of the champions, so sports is a huge piece of our high school community. Our district motto is where excellence is expected. Fort Collins High School is within Poudre School District in Colorado. As far as some student traditions, we have link leaders, which basically are junior and senior leaders and help freshmen kind of transition into that first week of high school. We have peer counselors, which is an awesome resource for students. They are trained through a program called SAVA, which is our Sexual Assault Victim Advocacy Center. And they are basically there as just an extra resource for students instead of just having to talk with their actual counselor. Every Friday we have a Stairs Sing, which our a cappella sings our alma mater. We have over 50 clubs and organizations for students to join. On seniors' last day, we have what's called Pops in the Park. We have different musical performances with our choir and band, and it's just kind of a half day for the seniors' last day. Homecoming week and Spread the Love week, we have various dress-up days, activities, bonfires, football Fridays, all of that. And then every year our graduation is held at Colorado State University, which I will talk more about as far as a community partnership with us. Some demographics, we're mostly middle class. We have about 34% free and reduced lunch. We have a predominantly Caucasian demographics, about 32% minority. Our graduation rate is 77%, and we are in an increasingly liberal state. Looking at Fort Collins, Colorado, and its population characteristics, we have around 165,000 people living within Fort Collins. About 20% is under the age of 20, and about 10% is our senior citizens. Our population has increased about 14% over the last 7 years. A huge piece of our community is Colorado State University. There's about 33,000 students who attend, and we also have a Front Range Community College as well. The median household income is approximately $66,000, and there's been a huge increase in the cost of living and housing prices, which I'll talk more about that on another slide as well. We are a very highly educated population. 96% of people hold a high school diploma, and 53% hold a bachelor's degree or higher. And then you can kind of see the breakdown of demographics. Again, predominantly Caucasian, about 11% Hispanic, 3% Asian, and 1.5% African American. Looking at our means of communication at Fort Collins High School, this is something that I love. We offer a variety of communication methods. We have 3 social media accounts through either Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. These are basically used to communicate out important information, highlight certain sporting events, staff or student recognition, communicating out different dress-up days if it's a spirit week. We also have a Fort Collins High School newsletter that's available either online or hard copy. There's information from the principal, volunteer opportunities, and it's another way of helping to promote events. We have the Remind app, which is a texting app that is used for staff and students and parents to send out important information, usually more last minute pieces of information, but I know that a lot of people use that method as well. Obviously, the traditional phone calls, I think this is super important for teachers to stay in touch with parents or guardians in both a positive or negative way, and we also use this for attendance issues. Within the Fort Collins community, we have a newspaper called the Fort Collins Coloradoan, also social media accounts with Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We don't really have any local news channels. Those are mainly based out of Denver. And then as far as a foreign language impact, we have district and school-based resources and family liaisons that help to communicate out information for any students struggling to get that information. Different community groups within Fort Collins. I know I mentioned Colorado State University before, but it is a central focus of our town. Again, over 30,000 students attend. There's also many graduate programs available, and as of last year, we had a brand new on-campus football stadium that was built. I mentioned Front Range Community College, and then as far as business partnerships, we have Otterbox, Woodward, which we actually bring them into our classroom a lot within family consumer science, local restaurants or shops. So again, with say my catering classes that I teach, I like to bring in Old Town Spice shops or chefs from local restaurants. Breweries is a really important part too within really the whole state of Colorado, but New Belgium offers a lot of partnership opportunities within the school and externships. So I would say that the Fort Collins community is really involved with our school district. Our district has a really good reputation around the state and within the northern Colorado region. I would say the biggest current issue that we have would just be taxpayers agreeing to build 2 new high schools within the next 4 years. Our 4 main comprehensive high schools right now are at full student capacity, so we are in desperate need of new schools to lower class sizes. Different leadership roles at Fort Collins High School. Our superintendent for the district is Dr. Sandra Smizer. We have 2 assistant superintendents, both at the primary and secondary levels. We have a 7-member board of education in PSD that meets twice a month. It is volunteer-based. Some of them come from a previous education background, but not all of them do. As far as leadership roles within Fort Collins High School, our principal is retiring after this year. He has been in that position for 17 years. His name is Mark Eversole. We have 4 assistant principals, 2 deans that primarily focus on obviously discipline issues and attendance. We have 1 school resource officer and 2 hall monitors. We have a very large counseling department, and then something new as of last year is we have a specific counselor just for mental health, and then another counselor specifically for drug and alcohol abuse. We also have a strong lead teacher group at Fort Collins High School. We meet twice a month, and those are basically just the department leads for each subject. I would say that parents are involved and are helpful in supporting our school's mission. And then we also have a lot of student leadership opportunities as well, such as student council. And as I mentioned before, there's over 50 clubs and organizations, and sports is a huge focus of our school as well. Within the Fort Collins community and their leaders, I would say the Fort Collins City Council, our mayor, which I actually through this project found that he is unaffiliated, which I thought was interesting. I did not know that before. The Poudre School District Board of Education, working again with Colorado State University and their board of directors, the Downtown Business Authority, and then the Leadership Fort Collins Committee that helps to meet about relevant topics within our city. As far as Fort Collins economic conditions, I would say some of the most concerning issues right now in Fort Collins, again, is just the increased cost of living. An average rental is about $1,400 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. This again has increased a lot just as our population has over the past 7 years, which has in turn led to an increase in our homeless population, and thinking just how expensive it is, the difficulty for young professionals to get established within the town. The infrastructure too, just again with our increase in population, that would be a main concern too with traffic. We have a large train system that goes through the middle of our town as well, and just kind of working around those issues as far as how we can go about correcting it. Fort Collins political structure, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we are a predominantly liberal town along the Front Range, Denver, Boulder, some of our mountain towns, but we are surrounded by more conservative rural areas. There's the typical college town politics, and as far as can we separate politics from education, I feel like there's going to be political issues statewide around school funding. Students are definitely aware of the issue and are getting more confused on the issue. I mentioned overcrowded classrooms. Our average class size is around 34 students at Fort Collins High School, and that's pretty common for most schools within our district. As far as social tensions, I feel like just thinking or comparing Fort Collins to other schools, there's very minimal social tensions around interracial concerns. There's little to no gang activity. We have, for some reason, at the beginning of this school year, there's been more fights than usual, but I'm not exactly sure what's specifically causing that. I would say that we're a pretty inclusive school around students in the LGBTQ community, students with disabilities. We have a really awesome integrated service department where we're getting students mainstreamed more into the core classes. Again, just kind of your normal high school cliques. Nothing that I would say is overly concerning. I would say the largest social tension issue seems to exist more politically. We had a student walkout at the end of last school year, and that was mainly due to per pupil student funding issues, where students walked out one day to advocate for their increase in funding. Some of the main sources I used are school district website, our actual website, U.S. Census Bureau, Fort Collins City Council, and then Visit Fort Collins. For power structures, for this, I think it's important to be involved and speak up about certain issues when it's possible. Within Colorado, CDE helps to determine standards, but it's kind of district by district with any other issues surrounding education. Like I mentioned too, the Board of Education, I feel like they really try to focus on what is best for students. They focus on budgets, community needs, and parent commentary. For multicultural issues, again, at Fort Collins, we are a growing diverse population. We also have a good diverse teacher and admin population, diverse student leadership teams, just making sure that there's extra supports available when needed. Teachers need to build culture into their curriculum. Some subject areas are definitely doing a really good job at this. Even just again in family consumer science and with what I teach, I do an international cultural unit in catering where students prepare various foods from different regions and learn about the history of that region. We have different cultural building clubs, GSA, spread the word campaigns, and then our peer counselors do a good job as well. Fort Collins High School power structures. Our district does give each school some flexibility in decision making. I feel like our principal does a really good job at advocating for the needs of students and staff. We have a student advisory board, parent committees, a school improvement team, and lead teacher meetings, again, twice a month. So I definitely feel like teachers within my school are respected and given important leadership roles and decision-making opportunities, which is important to get all voices involved. Measuring public opinion, so we do a student connection survey every year, which I think is important to look back on that feedback as far as issues that students feel like we need to do a better job addressing. We have mill levy money available, again, Board of Education, community input on major decisions and funding. And on my other slide on this one, just even last week, our superintendent sent out an email. We are debating getting a different bell schedule for next school year and having high school start at a later time. We currently start at 7:30 in the morning for our first class, and they're looking to push that back to 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So I thought that it was important and nice that the superintendent just sent out a survey for staff, students, and parents to vote on 4 different proposed schedules. So we'll see how that outcome turns out. That is it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.